Hello and welcome back to this edition of Daily Actives brought to you by Bootleg Macro. I am Dustin. This is the show where we review the most popular and active stocks on all of Yahoo Finance. We're going to be looking at Peloton. Now, one of the reasons I like to show you when my model actually updates is because I want people to know that Google Finance data is available free, and all it requires you to build a model is a little bit of gumption, probably a bunch of reading, and a lot of time. Now, if we're going to look at what's going on in Peloton, I don't know. From what I understand, they got a new CEO. But the thing that I like about it is that somebody knew something. The market will always tell you. And the reason I can say that is because if you see this red lettering with red background with black lettering, that means that there's two standard deviations above its 23-day moving average. If you see this red lettering with a white background, that means it's three standard deviations above its 23-day moving average. This thing essentially has been redlining ever since the 11th of October and continues to move today. Now, I'm not saying that somebody knew something back here, but I'm just saying it looks a little funky when you think about how this move has happened. The reason I say that is because if we go back and look at the weeklies here for Peloton, this thing back in 2021, ooh, the good old days. This thing was up above $100. This thing is essentially bottomed here around $3. We're now up above 8. That's remarkable to see. And if we think about it, oh my goodness, we've actually changed. We've gone positive as of today. If the market closed, we've gone positive on the 30-month rolling return on Peloton. We are now positive on the 15-month rolling return. We have flipped positive on the 1 year rolling return. We flipped positive on the 5 month, the 15 week, the 5 week. This is, I mean, in my world, those are incredibly strong signals. You wouldn't see them on the daily unless you look back here to April on August of 2024 around that $4.55. That was a great market move. That was a great signal. These are things to pay attention to. But it depends who you are. Some people like to buy breakouts. Some people like to short breakouts. Some people like to buy breakdowns. Some people like to short breakdowns. Depends on who you are. But if we look at what's going on in Peloton now, the short term, intermediate term, and longer term is all long. The short term, intermediate term, and longer term is all bullish. We have had confirmed across the board bullishness in short term, intermediate term, and longer term since August. Again, that August period was a really good signal of why to go long. I don't like to buy when you're above the red or when you're three or two standard deviations above the 23-day moving average. I prefer to buy when you're in its normal distribution range. When you see the green background with the black lettering, those are great times to buy or great times to sell. Or actually, the best time to sell are when you're seeing this red lining down to a core position, and then one of the best times to rebuy the dip is when you're in that green in the middle there. Now, if we look at what we've got going on, and actually, I want to call this out because if you watch any of my other videos, I always talk about how volume with a big up move, especially if there's a catalyst, is a humongous indicator of long-term bullish success. You saw a huge breakout. This thing was up 27% with humongous volume. Now, if you see a volume spike in my model, what that means is you are seeing volume that day, which is above the 10-day moving average. And the same thing that I mentioned here in terms of the coloring is the same thing that's true here for the volume. So if you see that blue lettering with the white background, that means that that is three standard deviations below its mean. You see the red lettering with a white background, that means it's three standard deviations above its mean. Most of the time, it stays completely within its range. The reason why is because volume is pretty easy to see because either you're part of the market or you're not. But when you get massive moves, it is incredible to watch. Now, if we go and look at what we're seeing here in terms of the overall trend, what I like is that this thing is well above 60% probably already. It's at 62%. Now, the thing about this ultra fast indicator, we'll get to some of the dailies after this, is that this indicator has trouble going above 60% and falling below 40%. The reason why is because the market is a yin and a yang. You have buyers, you have sellers, you have everyone in between. We're looking at Peloton. Peloton continues to essentially redline. This thing is up above 60%. It dips to what its low is now of 53%, and then it's right back up above 60%. You are seeing a significant transition in terms of this thing going from bearish to bullish right before your eyes. Now, if we look at the overall trading signals here, what I'd love to see is that we had a bunch of bearishness at the very beginning, but that wasn't bearishness. The problem with this, and I will be very honest about my own signal here, is that the bearishness wasn't true bearishness. What it was that you're coming off extreme bullishness, and my system is not made to handle these like gaps. Like this had to be. It was probably where were we? Okay, so let's just take a second. So this is September, the middle of September going into October. So we're looking at September going into October. So it didn't know if this is going to be a full breakdown because you're going from $5 down to 425. Like that's you're talking about that's a ridiculous move. I mean, it was down 16% over 5 days, 7.5% nearly in one day. If you look at that over 2 days, like you're talking about a crazy move in terms of a stock, no matter what the actual price is, it's just really difficult for my model to keep up. And that's gonna be fair for any model that's really gonna be paying attention to most recent price moves. Now, if we look, we've got a big bull, we've got some small bulls, and the most important thing, we got that 1 month bull trigger. Now, if we're gonna go ahead and look at what we've got overall, just a beautiful chart, just a beautiful base, just a nice breakout. And again, the base when we're talking about Peloton here, it's been such an ugly move since 2021. You got 2021 into 2022 into 2023. It looks like we bottomed here in August of 2024. somewhere around the low of $2.83. You're probably up over 100% by now, probably up over 100+%. Now we're looking at Peloton. Peloton's got some room to run. Now, I would say that sentiment is a little stretched, but when you think about where it is and what type of move we've seen and the catalyst that this thing really needs, I don't think this is too crazy. Again, the volume that we're seeing with the gigantic move, that is huge. Especially when you consider the fact that if we go back to the 22nd, that's probably this day here. Yep. The volume that you're seeing, accompanied with the big price moves up, are very, very bullish. You're seeing volatility completely transform. The reason why volatility is transforming is because this thing has been so bearish and now you're going incredibly bullish. The market essentially doesn't know what to do, and it's like, oh, I'm just going to freak out. And the volatility has essentially skyrocketed. It's the highest volatility that we've seen in a long time. If we look at it on the weekly, the volatility essentially bottomed here in September of 2024, which I believe, let's see, 0.573 for volatility back in 2023, 0.832. I wonder what volatility is going to do. The reason why is because the volatility, because the price is so low, this thing could go to $20, and the volatility, depending on how depending on the path that it takes, could be insane. But it would only be relative, it'd only be crazy volatility relative to the fact that the price is so low to start with. But I love that volatility is breaking out, and I love that correlation is riding along with it, because that shows that you're going to get these dramatically aggressive moves. And you can see even here, volatility started to fall here in September, right? Volatility was falling here in September, or the end of September into October. And this, boys and girls, is where you get a very tight range. The tight range and then a massive expansion, that is incredibly bullish if you know anything about how to be able to pay attention to probabilistic ranges. Incredibly bullish. Now, if we look at the ultra fast sentiment indicator, we've already looked at this, but tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you long? Are you short? Do you like it? Do you love it? Is this even a good review? And before you go, subscribe to the new high newsletter. We send you 25 stocks to your inbox, stocks between $5 and $20 breaking out, stocks breaking out to 1 year highs, stocks breaking out to all-time highs. It's a great trading list to get your trading week started. I'll talk to you soon.